The men didn't salute. That was the first thing Second Lieutenant Sarah Martinez noticed when she walked into the platoon area at Forward Operating Base Falcon, Iraq. 30 male infantry soldiers, all combat veterans, all with at least one deployment under their belts, some with 2 or 3. They looked at her, at the brand new lieutenant bars on her collar, at her 5'6" frame, at the fact that she was a woman, and they didn't salute. Protocol said they should. Army regulations were clear. When an officer enters the area, enlisted soldiers come to attention and salute. It didn't matter if you liked the officer. It didn't matter if you disagreed with their assignment. You saluted. But these men didn't. Platoon Attentayan. Staff Sergeant Mike Kowalski, the platoon sergeant, barked the command. The men snapped to attention mechanically. No enthusiasm. No respect. Just following orders because their platoon sergeant was standing right there. Sarah returned the salute. At ease. The men relaxed. Some crossed their arms. Others looked away. A few exchanged glances that said everything. This is bullshit. They sent us a woman. Sarah had expected this. Knew it was coming the moment she'd been assigned as platoon leader for 1st Platoon, Bravo Company, 1st Battalion, 8th Infantry Regiment. But knowing didn't make it easier. Staff Sergeant Kowalski stepped forward. 38 years old, 3 combat deployments, 20 years in the infantry, weathered face that had seen too much combat. He'd been running this platoon for 2 years through some of the worst fighting in Fallujah, and now command was giving him a 24-year-old female lieutenant fresh from West Point who'd never heard a shot fired in anger. "Ma'am," Kowalski said, not quite meeting her eyes. "Welcome to 1st Platoon. The men they're good soldiers. They've been through a lot together." Translation: they don't want you here. They don't trust you. And I don't blame them. "Thank you, Staff Sergeant," Sarah said. She turned to face the platoon. "I'm Lieutenant Martinez. I know what you're thinking. Most of you have more combat experience than I do. Most of you have been doing this job longer than I've been in the Army. And I'm a woman, which means some of you think command is making a political statement by assigning me here." A few of the men shifted uncomfortably. At least she was being honest. "But I'm your platoon leader now," Sarah continued. "Whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, we're stuck with each other. So we can either make this work or we can all have a miserable deployment. I'd prefer to make it work." Silence. Then Private First Class Rodriguez, 22 years old, Hispanic kid from Texas, combat veteran from Ramadi, raised his hand like they were in a classroom. "Ma'am, I got a question." "Go ahead, Rodriguez. Can you carry me?" The question hung in the air. Not hostile, not mocking, just honest. Rodriguez was 5'10", 185 pounds with full combat gear. Sarah was 5'6", 135 pounds soaking wet. "Because that's what we do, ma'am," Rodriguez continued. "When someone gets hit, we carry them out. We drag them to safety. Can you do that? Can you carry a wounded soldier?" It was the question that mattered in infantry combat. Because in the infantry, you didn't leave wounded behind. You carried them out, no matter how heavy, no matter how far. And if your platoon leader couldn't carry you, then what good was she? Sarah looked at Rodriguez, at his 185 pounds of muscle and gear, at the genuine concern in his eyes. The honest answer was, probably not. She was 50 pounds lighter than him. In a firefight, dragging his weight would be nearly impossible. But before Sarah could answer, a voice from the back of the platoon cut through the silence. "A woman? They sent us a fucking woman." Sarah turned. The voice belonged to Specialist Marcus Martinez, no relation to Sarah, 25 years old, 6 feet tall, 190 pounds of muscle and attitude. He wasn't trying to be subtle, wasn't whispering, was making sure everyone heard. "Dude, shut up," Private First Class Jin hissed. "She's right there." "I don't care," Specialist Martinez shot back, louder now. "This is infantry. This is combat. We don't need some diversity hire who's gonna get us all killed because she can't keep up." The platoon went silent. Everyone stared at Specialist Martinez, then at Sarah, waiting to see what she'd do. Staff Sergeant Kowalski's face went red. Specialist Martinez, shut your mouth right now. It's okay, Staff Sergeant, Sarah said quietly. She walked toward Specialist Martinez. He was 6 inches taller than her, outweighed her by 55 pounds. Looked down at her literally and figuratively. You got something to say, Specialist? Sarah asked. Martinez looked down at her. Ma'am, with all due respect, and I mean that, I don't think women belong in infantry. This is a combat unit. We carry heavy loads. We move fast. We fight hand to hand. And when someone goes down, we carry them out. No offense, but you can't do that. You're right, Sarah said calmly. I probably can't carry Rodriguez, or you, or most of the men in this platoon. You outweigh me by 50 pounds. Martinez blinked. He'd expected her to argue, to get defensive, not to agree. But my job isn't to carry you, Sarah continued. My job is to lead you, to make tactical decisions that keep you alive, to coordinate fire support, call in air assets, and position this platoon so we have every advantage when we make contact with the enemy. Your job is to not get us killed, Martinez said. And I don't think you can do that. Then I guess we're about to find out, Sarah said. She turned to face the entire platoon, all 30 men watching her, judging her, waiting for her to fail. I know none of you want me here, Sarah said. I know you think I'm a political statement. I know you think I'm going to get you killed. But here's the truth. I chose infantry. I could have gone to any other branch, could have taken an easier assignment, could have stayed in the rear where it's safe. Then why didn't you? Sergeant First Class Davis asked. He was the senior squad leader, 34 years old, 6 feet tall, 210 pounds, 3 deployments. The man who actually ran the day-to-day operations of this platoon. Because if women can't do this job, then we don't deserve equality, Sarah said. Everyone says women are equal to men. Everyone says we can do anything. But if I can't lead in combat, if I can't do the hardest job in the Army, then it's all bullshit. The men stared at her. I'm here to prove women belong in infantry, Sarah continued. And the only way to prove that is to do the job. Not from the rear, not by taking easy missions, but by leading you through real combat. Sergeant First Class Davis studied her for a long moment. All right, ma'am, Davis said. You get one chance, one mission. If you lead from the front and don't quit, we'll follow you. But if you hesitate, if you can't hack it, I won't quit, Sarah interrupted. We'll see, Davis said. Because you're about to get tested. Command just gave us a mission. Building clearance in the old city. Intelligence says 15 to 20 insurgents inside. 3-story structure. Close quarters. High probability of casualties. Sarah felt her stomach tighten. Building clearance in Fallujah was the most dangerous mission in urban warfare. The kind where platoon leaders usually stayed outside coordinating while squad leaders took their men inside. The kind where people died. When do we go? Sarah asked. 1 hour. Sarah nodded, looked at her platoon, at Specialist Martinez, who'd said she didn't belong, at Rodriguez, who'd asked if she could carry him, at all 30 men who were waiting for her to lead from the rear like a typical officer. All right, Sarah said. I'll take point with first squad. The platoon stared at her. Ma'am, Staff Sergeant Kowalski said carefully. Platoon leaders don't take point. That's not. Today I do, Sarah said, because I told you I'd lead from the front, and I meant it. Specialist Martinez looked at her with something that might have been respect, or maybe just surprise. You're really going in first? Martinez asked. I said I'd prove I belong here, Sarah replied. So that's what I'm doing. First through every door, every room, every floor. If I'm going to lead you, I'm going to do it from the front. The men exchanged glances. Maybe she was brave. Maybe she was stupid. Maybe she was trying to get herself killed to prove a point about gender equality. But she wasn't backing down. And in 1 hour, Second Lieutenant Sarah Martinez was going to become the first woman in Army history to lead an infantry assault through the streets of Fallujah, whether the men believed in her or not. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Army Story so you never miss these true tales of courage. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from today? And to the women in combat roles, we see you, we honor you, and you are warriors. The past 3 days had been a masterclass in being underestimated. Day 1, Sarah arrived at FOB Falcon. The men looked at her like she was lost, like she'd wandered into the wrong area, like surely she was here to deliver paperwork, not lead a combat platoon. "Ma'am, can I help you find something?" A private had asked, genuinely thinking she needed directions. "I'm looking for 1st Platoon," Sarah had said. "This is 1st Platoon. Infantry. Combat unit. I know. I'm your new platoon leader." The private's face had gone through 5 stages of grief in 3 seconds. Day 2, physical training. Sarah had kept up on the run. Barely. The men ran faster than her, longer legs, more muscle mass, years of conditioning. But she'd finished. Hadn't quit. In the weight room, Specialist Martinez had loaded a barbell with 185 pounds. "Ma'am, can you bench this? Because Rodriguez weighs about this much with gear. If you can't lift this, how are you going to carry him?" Sarah had tried. Failed. Couldn't even get the bar off her chest. The men had to help her re-rack it. They'd laughed. Not cruelly, just laughing at the obvious. She was too small, too weak, physically not capable of doing what infantry soldiers did. Day 3, weapons qualification. Sarah had shot expert with the M4 rifle and the M9 pistol. Perfect scores on both. The men had been impressed. Briefly, "Shooting targets is easy, ma'am," Sergeant First Class Davis had said. "Shooting people who are shooting back is different." "I know," Sarah had replied. "Do you? Because qualifying at the range doesn't mean you can handle combat. Combat is chaos. It's fear. It's making decisions when you're terrified. Have you ever been terrified, ma'am?" Sarah had wanted to say yes, wanted to lie, but Davis would see through it. "No," Sarah admitted. "This is my first combat deployment." Davis had nodded slowly, like that confirmed everything he'd suspected. "Then you don't know if you can handle it. And neither do we." Now, standing in the platoon area preparing for her first combat mission, Sarah felt the weight of 3 days of doubt crushing down on her. The men were gearing up, putting on body armor, checking weapons, loading magazines. The routine of soldiers who'd done this dozens of times. Sarah did the same. Body armor, 35 pounds. Helmet, 4 pounds. Weapon, ammunition, water, medical kit, another 30 pounds. Total load, about 70 pounds. On her 135-pound frame, that was over half her body weight. She struggled to stand up once the gear was on. The men noticed. "Ma'am, you good?" Rodriguez asked. "I'm fine," Sarah lied. Her legs were shaking under the weight. Private First Class Chun, the youngest soldier in the platoon at 20 years old, came over. "Ma'am, want me to carry some of your ammo? You're loaded heavy." It was a kind offer, but Sarah knew what it would mean if she accepted. It would mean she couldn't even carry her own gear, couldn't handle the basic load that every infantry soldier carried. "I've got it, Chun. Thank you." Chun nodded and walked away, but Sarah saw him exchange a look with Rodriguez. A look that said, "She's not going to make it." Staff Sergeant Kowalski approached. "Ma'am, I need to be straight with you." "Go ahead, Staff Sergeant. This mission is dangerous. Building clearance is how most of our casualties happen. Close quarters, blind corners. Insurgents know we're coming and set up ambushes. IEDs, booby traps. It's a kill box." "I understand. Do you?" Kowalski's voice was sharp now. "Because, ma'am, with respect, you've never done this. And the men need to know their leader won't freeze up when bullets start flying." "I won't freeze. You don't know that. Nobody knows until it happens." Kowalski lowered his voice. "Ma'am, you don't have to do this. You can coordinate from outside. That's what platoon leaders do. There's no shame in." "I'm going in first," Sarah said firmly. "Why? To prove a point? To show that women are tough?" "Ma'am, this isn't about gender politics. This is about keeping soldiers alive." "I know what it's about, Staff Sergeant." And I'm going in first because these men need to see that I won't ask them to do anything I wouldn't do myself. If I lead from the rear on my first mission, I'll never earn their respect. Never." Kowalski studied her face, then nodded slowly. "All right, ma'am. Your call. But when we're in there, you follow my lead. I've done this 50 times. You've done it 0. You see something, you tell me. But you let me make the tactical calls inside the building. Understood?" It was a fair compromise. Sarah was the platoon leader, but Kowalski had the experience. "Understood," Sarah agreed. "Good." Kowalski raised his voice. "First platoon, listen up. Mission brief in 5 minutes. Be ready to move in 30. The men gathered around. Sarah noticed that Specialist Martinez, the soldier who'd said women didn't belong here, was watching her closely. Not with hostility anymore, with curiosity, like he was trying to figure out if she was brave or just crazy. Sarah was trying to figure out the same thing. West Point, New York. 2 years earlier, 2017, Cadet Sarah Martinez, 22 years old, sat across from her tactical officer, Captain Williams, during career counseling. "Martinez, your grades are excellent. Top 10% of your class. You could go anywhere. Military intelligence, Signal Corps, logistics. What are you thinking?" Sarah had taken a deep breath. "Infantry, sir." Captain Williams had stared at her. "Infantry? Sarah, you know women just got approved for infantry roles last year. There are maybe 20 women in the entire Army infantry right now. Most units don't even have women yet." "I know, sir. It's going to be hard. The men won't want you there. They'll test you constantly. You'll have to prove yourself every single day." "I know that too, sir." "Then why? Why choose the hardest branch? You could have a successful career in a dozen other fields where you wouldn't face that kind of resistance." Sarah had thought about lying, about giving the politically correct answer, about saying she wanted to be a pioneer or break barriers or some other inspirational speech. But she told Captain Williams the truth. "Sir, I have 3 brothers, all of them athletes, all of them bigger and stronger than me. Growing up, every time we competed at anything physical, they won. Because they were boys. Because they had testosterone and muscle mass and all the biological advantages. That's just biology, Martinez. Men and women are different physically." "I know, sir. But here's the thing. My brothers would always say the same thing. It's okay, Sarah. You're smart. You're good at school. Let us do the physical stuff." Like being smart was a consolation prize for not being strong enough. Captain Williams had nodded slowly. "And you want to prove them wrong?" "No, sir. I want to prove that both things can be true. That women can be smart and tough. That we don't have to choose. That we can do the hardest physical jobs even if we're smaller and weaker. Infantry is brutal, Martinez. It's not just about being tough. It's about carrying wounded soldiers, hauling heavy loads, sustained physical exertion at a level most people can't maintain." "I know, sir. But if women can't do infantry, if we can't do the absolute hardest military job, then we can't claim real equality. We'll always be good enough for most things, but not the hard things." "I don't want that. I want to prove women can do all of it." Captain Williams had studied her for a long moment. "All right, Martinez. Infantry it is. But I want you to understand something. When you get to your first unit, those men will be waiting for you to fail. They'll have every reason in the world to believe you can't hack it. And if you fail, if you quit, if you get hurt, if you can't keep up, it won't just affect you. It'll affect every woman who comes after you." "I understand, sir." "Do you? Because the pressure on you is going to be immense. You're not just representing yourself. You're representing an entire gender. Every woman who ever wanted to serve in combat. That's a heavy burden." "I can carry it, sir." Captain Williams had smiled slightly. "I hope you're right. Because in a few years, you're going to be leading men in combat. And they're going to look at you and think you can't do it. Can you prove them wrong?" "Yes, sir." "How?" Sarah had met his eyes. "By being first through every door. By taking the same risks they take. By bleeding if I have to. By never, ever quitting. Captain Williams had extended his hand. Then good luck, Lieutenant. You're going to need it. Present day. Fallujah. FOB Falcon. Sarah remembered that conversation now as she checked her weapon one more time before the mission. By being first through every door. She'd meant it then. She meant it now, even if it killed her. Staff Sergeant Kowalski spread a map on the hood of a Humvee. The platoon gathered around. All right, listen up. Here's the target building. He pointed to a 3-story structure marked on the map. Intelligence says this is being used as an insurgent command center. Estimated 15 to 20 enemy fighters inside. They know we're coming, they always do. So expect resistance. How do we know they're in there? Specialist Martinez asked. Drone surveillance. Thermal imaging shows multiple heat signatures. Armed men on the roof. Weapons cache visible through windows. This is a legit target. What's the ROE? Sergeant First Class Davis asked. Standard rules of engagement. Positive ID before engaging. But this is a known insurgent position, so anyone armed inside is hostile. Clear. The men nodded. Breach plan, Kowalski continued. First squad breaches the front door. Second squad covers the rear exit. Third squad secures the perimeter. We clear floor by floor, room by room. Standard CQB protocols. Who's on point? Davis asked. Everyone looked at Sarah. She stepped forward. I am. A few soldiers shifted uncomfortably. Kowalski started to object, but Sarah cut him off. We already discussed this, Staff Sergeant. I'm leading first squad through the front door. Ma'am, with respect, you've never cleared a building in combat. This isn't training. This is. I know what it is, Sarah said, and I'm still going first. Specialist Martinez raised his hand. Ma'am, who's your number 2? Who's got your 6? You volunteering, Martinez? Martinez blinked, then nodded slowly. Yeah, ma'am. I'll stack behind you. Someone's got to make sure you don't get yourself killed. It wasn't said with malice, just honesty. Martinez might not believe women belonged in infantry, but he wasn't going to let his platoon leader go into a kill box alone. All right, Sarah said. Martinez has my 6. Rodriguez, you're number 3. Chun, you're 4. Davis, you're 5 with the rest of first squad. Davis frowned. Ma'am, I should be number 2. I've got more experience. And I need you watching the whole stack, not just me, Sarah interrupted. Martinez can handle number 2. Can't you, Specialist? Martinez nodded. Yes, ma'am. Good. Sarah looked at the map. Entry point. Front door, Kowalski said. Explosives to breach. Clear the fatal funnel fast. Watch for IEDs. Watch for ambush positions. Insurgents like to hide in corners and wait for the first man through. First man through, except it wouldn't be a man. It would be a 5'6" woman with 70 pounds of gear who'd never been in combat. Sarah's stomach was churning, but she kept her face calm. ROE on civilians? Sarah asked. There shouldn't be civilians. Intel says the building's been evacuated. But if you see women or kids, do not engage. Clear. Clear. Air support. Apache on station. 5 minutes out if we need it. Call sign Hammer to 1. Radio check. The platoon check their radios. All working. Medical. Doc Thompson with 2nd Squad. Corpsman Chun with us. Kowalski looked at Sarah. Ma'am, if someone goes down, we get them out fast. Wounded don't stay inside the building. Clear. Clear. Any questions? Private First Class Rodriguez raised his hand. Ma'am, what happens if? If you go down, who takes command? It was a fair question, but it stung because Rodriguez was planning for her failure. If I go down, Staff Sergeant Kowalski takes command. Same as any mission, but I'm not planning to go down. None of us are, ma'am, Rodriguez said, but combat doesn't care about plans. You're right, Sarah admitted, but that's true for any of us. If I'm going to worry about getting hit every time I go on a mission, I might as well stay in the rear. Sergeant First Class Davis spoke up. Ma'am, no disrespect, but why are you doing this? Why take point? You don't have to prove anything to us. Yes, I do, Sarah said. Because right now, none of you trust me. None of you believe I can do this job. And the only way to change that is to show you. Not tell you. Show you. The men were silent. I'm not trying to be a hero, Sarah continued. I'm not trying to make a political statement. I'm trying to earn your respect. And the only way to do that is to take the same risks you take. So that's what I'm doing. Specialist Martinez nodded slowly. All right, ma'am. I respect that. You go through the door first. I'll be right behind you. Appreciate it, Specialist. Kowalski looked at his watch. We move in 10 minutes. Gear check. Weapons check. Radio check. Then we roll. The men dispersed to make final preparations. Sarah stood alone for a moment, looking at the map, at the building she was about to enter, at the place where she was going to prove she belonged, or die trying. The convoy rolled out of FOB Falcon at 1,430 hours. For Humvees carrying 1st Platoon through the streets of Fallujah toward the Old City. Sarah sat in the lead vehicle, watching the city pass by through the armored window. Destroyed buildings, rubble-filled streets, bullet holes in every wall. This was a city that had been at war for years. 2 minutes, the driver called out. Sarah checked her weapon one more time. M4 carbine, 30-round magazine, selector on safe, chambered and ready. Her hands were shaking. First time. Specialist Martinez asked from beside her. That obvious? Hands always shake first time. Mine did. Everyone's do. It's normal. Does it get better? Not really. You just get used to the fear. That wasn't reassuring. The convoy stopped 3 blocks from the target building. Close enough to walk. Far enough that the vehicles wouldn't get hit if the building was rigged to explode. Dismount. Kowalski ordered. The platoon piled out. Sarah jumped down from a Humvee, and immediately her legs almost buckled under the 70 pounds of gear. She steadied herself against the vehicle. Martinez saw it, said nothing, just moved into formation. First squad on me. Sarah called. Stack up. 8 soldiers formed a line behind her. Sarah at the front. Martinez right behind her. Rodriguez third. Chun fourth. Davis fifth with the rest of first squad trailing. They moved through the streets. Silent. Tactical spacing. Weapons ready. Eyes scanning every window, every doorway, every pile of rubble that might hide an IED. Sarah's heart was pounding, so hard she could hear it in her helmet. The target building loomed ahead. 3 stories. Windows broken. Roof showing signs of fortification. This was definitely being used by insurgents. Second squad moved around to cover the back. Third squad established a perimeter. First squad stacked on the front door. Sarah pressed herself against the wall next to the door. Martinez stacked behind her, his hand on her shoulder. Standard CQB procedure. She could feel his grip. Solid. Ready. Breach team ready, one of the demolition specialists said, attaching the explosive charge to the door. All squads report. Kowalski's voice came over the radio. Second squad set. Third squad set. Sarah keyed her radio. First squad ready to breach. Hammer 2-1, this is Falcon 1-6. Kowalski called to the Apache helicopter. We are breaching now. Stay on station. Roger, Falcon. Hammer is overhead. Sarah looked back at Martinez, at Rodriguez, at Chun, at all the men who'd doubted her for 3 days. On my count, Sarah said. 3, 2, 1. The door exploded inward with a deafening blast. Smoke filled the entrance. Go, go, go. Sarah screamed and plunged through the smoke into the building. This was it. First through the door, leading from the front. The fatal funnel swallowed her whole. The first thing Sarah saw through the smoke was a man with an AK-47, 10 feet away, turning toward her. Weapon coming up. Training took over. Sarah's M4 snapped to her shoulder. Red dot sight on center mass. Trigger squeeze. Crack, crack, crack. 3 rounds. The insurgent dropped. Contact front. Sarah yelled, moving left out of the fatal funnel. Martinez burst through behind her. Clear left. Rodriguez. Clear right. They were in. First room cleared. Stairs. Martinez shouted, pointing to a stairwell. More gunfire erupted from the second floor. Bullets stitched across the ceiling above them. Sarah dove behind a concrete pillar. Second floor contact. Davis shouted, returning fire. The room filled with the deafening crack of M4 rifles. Sarah's ears rang even through her ear protection. Martinez Rodriguez with me. Sarah yelled, clearing upstairs. She didn't think, didn't hesitate, just moved toward the stairs. Martinez grabbed her shoulder. Ma'am, wait for. Sarah shook him off and charged up the stairs. Point man going first, because that's what she'd said she'd do. She hit the second floor landing. Another insurgent waiting in ambush. He fired. Sarah felt bullets snap past her head, threw herself sideways. Martinez was right behind her. He put 2 rounds into the insurgent. Got him. Keep moving. Sarah screamed, adrenaline overriding fear. They flowed through the second floor. Room by room, door by door. 2 more insurgents killed. Sarah took 1. Martinez took 1. She was moving on autopilot now. Training from Ranger School. From Infantry Officer Basic Course. Muscle memory kicking in. 3rd floor. Rodriguez pointed up. Footsteps above them. Shouting in Arabic. More insurgents. Sarah hit the stairs again. Martinez was screaming something at her, but she couldn't hear over the gunfire and her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. She reached the 3rd floor and came face to face with an insurgent 5 feet away. Time slowed. The insurgent's AK-47 was already pointed at her, his finger on the trigger. Sarah saw his eyes widen, saw him start to squeeze. Crack. Sarah fired first. Point-blank range. The insurgent crumpled. But there were more. 3 more insurgents in the room beyond, all turning toward her, all with weapons. Sarah was in the fatal funnel again, completely exposed. No cover. She was going to die. Then Martinez appeared beside her, firing. Rodriguez on her other side, Chun right behind them. The 4 of them poured fire into the room. The insurgents went down. Clear. Martinez yelled. Room clear. Sarah stood there, shaking, rifle still pointed at the dead insurgents. She'd just killed 2 people, maybe 3. She'd been seconds from death. Ma'am. Martinez grabbed her shoulder. You good? I'm good, Sarah gasped. I'm. The floor above them exploded. RPG. Someone on the roof had fired an RPG down through the ceiling. The blast threw Sarah backward. She slammed into a wall. Her helmet cracked against concrete. Vision went white. When it cleared, she was on the floor, ears ringing, dust everywhere. Ma'am. Martinez was above her, screaming something. Blood running down his face from a shrapnel wound. Sarah tried to stand. Couldn't. Her left shoulder was wrong. Looked down. Saw blood. Lots of blood. She'd been hit. Ma'am, you're hit. Martinez was dragging her behind cover. How bad? Sarah managed to say, shoulder. Looks like shrapnel. Can you move? Sarah tried to lift her left arm. White-hot pain. She screamed. That's a no, Martinez said. He keyed his radio. Falcon 6, this is Martinez. Lieutenant's hit. I say again, Lieutenant Martinez is wounded. Need medevac. Negative on medevac. Kowalski's voice crackled back. Buildings not secure. Get her out of there. Now. Sarah's vision was starting to blur. Shock setting in. Blood loss. Can you walk, ma'am? Martinez asked. Sarah tried to stand. Her legs worked, but barely. I think so. Good. Because we're not done yet. Buildings not clear. They're still. Gunfire erupted from the room they just cleared. More insurgents. Must have been hiding. Rodriguez went down. Took a round to the leg. Screamed and fell. Rodriguez is hit. Chun yelled. Sarah looked at Rodriguez. 22 years old. The kid who'd asked if she could carry him. Now bleeding on the floor. Screaming in pain. She couldn't carry him. She was wounded herself. One arm useless. Blood pouring from her shoulder. But she was the platoon leader. And platoon leaders don't leave their soldiers behind. Sarah stumbled to Rodriguez. He was clutching his leg, blood seeping through his fingers. "Rodriguez, look at me," Sarah commanded. His eyes focused on her, wild with pain and fear. "You're gonna be okay," Sarah said. "But I need you to help me. Can you stand?" "I don't know, ma'am." "Try." Rodriguez tried. Got one leg under him. The wounded leg dragged. Sarah grabbed him, her good arm under his shoulder, her wounded arm screaming in protest, but she ignored it. "Martinez," Sarah yelled. "Cover us. We're moving." "Ma'am, you can't carry him. You're wounded." "I'm not leaving him," Sarah roared. She started dragging Rodriguez toward the stairs. He was 185 pounds. She was 135 with one working arm. The math didn't work, but she was doing it anyway. Step by step, Rodriguez's arm over her shoulder, his weight crushing her, her wounded shoulder on fire. She made it 5 feet, then 10. Martinez was beside her suddenly. "Ma'am, let me." "Cover the stairs," Sarah ordered. "I've got him." She was not going to let the men say she couldn't carry a wounded soldier, was not going to prove them right, even if it killed her. 15 feet, 20. Her legs were shaking, vision narrowing, blood loss making her weak. 25 feet. The stairs. Right there. Sarah's legs gave out. She and Rodriguez crashed to the floor. "Ma'am." Chun ran over. "Let me help." "No," Sarah gasped. I can do this." She tried to stand. Couldn't. Her body was done. She'd pushed too hard. Rodriguez looked at her. Blood covering both of them. "Ma'am, you did enough, let them help." Sarah wanted to argue, wanted to prove she could do it alone. But Rodriguez was right. She'd gotten him this far. But she couldn't make it down 3 flights of stairs, carrying him alone while wounded. "Chun," Sarah gasped. "Help me." Chun grabbed Rodriguez's other side. Together, they dragged him down the stairs. Sarah using her one good arm. Chun taking most of the weight. Second floor. More gunfire behind them. Martinez and Davis holding off insurgents. First floor. Almost out. Ground floor. The entrance. They dragged Rodriguez through the door into the street. Medics ran forward, grabbed him. Sarah collapsed, face down in the dirt, bleeding, exhausted, done. "Ma'am." Corpsman Thompson was suddenly above her. "You're hit bad. We need to get you out." Is Rodriguez okay?" Sarah gasped. "He's alive." "Ma'am, you saved him, but you're bleeding bad. We need to." "The building," Sarah interrupted. "Is it clear?" "Ma'am, you're wounded. You need." "Is it clear?" Sarah screamed. Staff Sergeant Kowalski's voice came over the radio. "Building secure. All insurgents down. I say again, building is clear." Sarah let her head drop back to the dirt. Mission complete. Building cleared. Rodriguez saved. She'd done it. The platoon leader, who couldn't even carry her own gear, had just carried a wounded soldier out of a 3-story firefight with one working arm. And the men had seen it. As Sarah's vision started to fade from blood loss, the last thing she saw was Specialist Martinez standing above her. The soldier who'd said women didn't belong in infantry. He was saluting her. Sarah woke up in the FOB Falcon Medical Clinic 6 hours later. Her left shoulder was bandaged. For in her right arm, pain medication making everything fuzzy. Staff Sergeant Kowalski was sitting beside her bed. "Welcome back, ma'am," he said. What happened?" Sarah managed to say, "You got hit by shrapnel. Tore up your shoulder pretty good. Docs say you'll recover fully, but you're grounded for at least 2 weeks." "Rodriguez." "He's fine. Bullet went through his calf. Clean wound. He'll be back in 4 weeks." Sarah closed her eyes in relief. The mission. Building cleared. 12 insurgents killed. We found a weapons cache, IED materials, and planning documents. Good intel haul. Battalions calling it a major success. Casualties. You and Rodriguez wounded. Everyone else made it out okay. Thanks to you. "I didn't do anything special," Sarah said. "I just did my job." Ma'am, you took point through a 3-story firefight. You engaged multiple hostiles. You got wounded and kept fighting. And you carried Rodriguez out with one working arm. Kowalski's voice was rough. That's not just doing your job. That's leadership. I couldn't have done it without Martinez and Chin helping. But you started it, Kowalski interrupted. You dragged him 25 feet alone before Chin helped. Ma'am, Rodriguez is 185 pounds. You're 135. The math doesn't work, but you did it anyway. Sarah didn't know what to say. The men, Kowalski continued. They're talking about what you did, about how you went through every door first, how you didn't hesitate, how you bled for them. They respect me now. Ma'am, they'd follow you into hell now. There was a knock on the door. Specialist Martinez stepped in. His head was bandaged from the shrapnel wound. Permission to enter, ma'am? You don't need permission, Martinez. This is at my office. Martinez walked over to her bedside, stood at attention. Ma'am, I need to apologize for what I said when you first arrived about women not belonging in infantry. I was wrong. You were protecting your platoon, Sarah said. You didn't know if I could do the job. But I should have given you a chance before judging. Instead, I assumed you couldn't hack it because you're a woman. That was wrong. Martinez's voice was steady. Ma'am, you proved today that women can do this job. You proved it by being braver than most men I've served with. I wasn't brave, Sarah said. I was terrified. We all were. But you went anyway. That's what courage is. I just didn't want to let you down. You didn't. Martinez extended his hand. You led us through that building. You saved Rodriguez. And you bled for this platoon. As far as I'm concerned, you're my platoon leader. For real this time. Sarah shook his hand. Thank you, Martinez. No, ma'am. Thank you. After Martinez left, more soldiers came. Rodriguez in a wheelchair, his leg bandaged. Chun with a black eye from a blast. Davis with minor shrapnel wounds. One by one, the men of 1st Platoon came to see their platoon leader. Not to check if she was okay, to thank her for leading them, for proving that women could do this job, for earning their respect in blood. Second Lieutenant Sarah Martinez returned to duty 3 weeks later. The shoulder healed. The scars remained, but she was cleared for combat operations. When she walked into the platoon area, the men snapped to attention, and this time they saluted, without being ordered, without hesitation, because now they wanted to. Sarah returned the salute, at ease. The men relaxed, but the respect remained. We've got a new mission, Staff Sergeant Kowalski said. Another building clearance. Old city. Heavy resistance expected. The platoon groaned. Building clearance again. The most dangerous mission in Iraq. Who's on point? Sergeant First Class Davis asked. Everyone looked at Sarah. I am, Sarah said. This time, no one objected. No one questioned. No one suggested she stay outside. Because they'd seen what she could do. Seen her bleed. Seen her fight. Seen her carry Rodriguez with one working arm. They'd seen her earn it. Specialist Martinez grinned. All right, ma'am. I've got your 6 again. Appreciate it, Martinez. Ma'am, Private First Class Rodriguez said. His legs still wrapped but functional. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. That first day, I asked if you could carry me. You never answered. So can you? Sarah looked at him. At the 185 pounds a soldier who she'd dragged 25 feet through a firefight with a shrapnel wound in her shoulder. Yeah, Rodriguez, Sarah said. Turns out I can. The platoon laughed. Not mocking, not dismissive, laughing with her. Because she was one of them now. Sarah Martinez stayed with 1st Platoon for the entire deployment. Led 30 more combat missions. Never quit. Never asked for special treatment. Never stopped being first through the door. When she left Iraq 6 months later, the men of 1st Platoon gave her a gift. A plaque that read, First through the door, L.T. Martinez. First woman to lead infantry in combat. Proved we were wrong to doubt her. Sarah kept that plaque for the rest of her career. Not because it said she was first, because it said she'd proven them wrong. And that was all she'd ever wanted to do.